In today's video, we're going to talk about pipelines in Bash. So pipelines are a very powerful tool and versatile tool that can come in handy in a lot of situations when we want to write Bash scripts. And so there are a lot of use cases when it actually is a very good tool for practical uses. But in this video, we're just going to introduce what pipelines are and give some very basic examples so that you can start working with them and getting the grasp of what pipelines are. So let's start by defining what a pipeline is. So a pipeline, actually, so basically, let's use a text file to explain it better. Well, what a pipeline is basically something that connects the output, the standard output, and these words actually, again, if they make sense to you, then I'm gonna use them. If not, just ignore it. Just think about the output so as being something that gets spit out. You know, the output and input. Input is something you put in, and output is what you get out. Okay, so I'm gonna use standard input, standard output, and standard input as words, but don't worry if you don't understand what they mean more technically. Just think about them in a very high-level way, and that's the standard output of the first process that we're gonna pass with the second one. The syntax is therefore the following. So we're going to say command number 1, then separated by this bar here, and then command number 2. So what it does is basically connects. It passes the standard output of the first command to the second one. We can also link various pipelines. So we can write pipelines of more than 2 commands. So again, write command 1, command 2, then command 3, and so on. And don't worry about what's going to happen. It's actually really simple. Just think that the pipeline is just going to do its job. It's going to connect the standard output of the process before with the standard input of the process afterwards. And so this is just what's gonna do. And so just think about the pipeline connecting the addition processes, basically. The addition commands, basically. So if you have let's make an example, command 1, then command 2, and then command 3, for example, okay? Then just think about this. Okay. So the output of command 1 will be sent into command 2, and then the output of command 2 inside the input of command 1 will be sent into command 3. And so this is basically how pipelines work on a very basic level. Now let's actually work with them on a little bit more practically, let's say. So we're all familiar with the cat command at this point. I think we introduced it in the previous videos, but if you don't remember, or maybe you have not seen the previous videos, don't worry. The cat command basically just returns the content of a file, of a text file. And now we're going to use our first pipeline. So what we're going to say is going to take the cat command, which returns as an output the content of a text file, and we're going to use a pipeline, and then we're going to pass this into, for example, the word counter. And this is what we're going to get actually. And now with the word counter, we can get the number of bytes, the number of characters, the number of lines, and so on. So for example, let's try to get the number of lines. So if we say cat pip.txt, and then we use a pipeline, then wc, and we use for example, n. Oh, actually, what was it? L. Sorry, L. Okay, so we say pip.txt, and then word count, and then L. We get 7. Why? Because if we go into, actually, let's open it with Vim so you can see the lines. We have precisely 7 lines of code. And so as you can see, this is how pipelines work. And we can, for example, also ask how many words are there. There are 35 words. And so we can also, if you remember, count the bytes with C. And so if we say cat pip.txt and then like this, we get the number of bytes. Okay, so the number of characters actually, because you know a character is an ASCII, a character is an ASCII character, which is basically 8 bits, so a byte. And so it is the same basically. Counting the characters and counting the bytes. If we're encoding the characters with ASCII, it's the same. We can also, for example, combine the echo commands, which you have learned in the first video, with pipelines. For example, if we say echo hello, how are you, and then we can combine it with a pipeline word counter that, for example, counts the number of words. and it returns 4. We can also, for example, create a variable like 5. We can, for example, return actually the expression that returns, for example, a num plus 5, and then passing it with a typewriter inside the word counter. As you can see, we get 1 because the result is basically 5 plus 5, which is 10, and so it is just one word. With this said, you should now have a basic understanding of pipes and inside of Bash, and in the next video we're gonna look at redirections.